CC Legator called for a tight, range-bound day on Friday, and the market delivered. Pressure released. We're trading higher to start the week. Holiday week, kind of. Monday, there's a holiday. Holiday for dentists today, too. Victoria Day. We got some earnings, but we're all going to sit on our hands and wait for NVDA on Wednesday. Analysts getting ahead of that. Elliott buying Johnson Controls. That's not a stock we talk about a lot. 8:35. Angie Setzer is going to talk to us about the grains and commodity markets. This is Monday. This is pre-market prep. Let's get it started.
Welcome to Benzinga's pre-market prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
Okay, starting out in the green. We've been at 53.35 almost the entire night and morning. Up 850, 53.35 and a half. All-time closing high, 53.33. All-time high, 53.49. Buck up about, just shy of a dime, 104.41. TLT up a little bit from Friday sell-off, up 14 cents at 91.53. Crude doing its best at getting the $80 handle, but down 33 cents at 79.24. Don't look now. Gold making a new all-time high, up 13.70 at 24.30.90. You want a catch-up trade? How about silver? Hi-ho silver, up 30 cents at 31.56. Way off the all-time high. And Bitcoin futures, wow, they're flat. 67,365. You don't get many people to work on a holiday, but you get Dennis Dick to work on a holiday, and we have a celebration. We're going to Game 7. The Edmonton Oilers won an impressive game, a 5-1 victory on Sunday night.
That's it. It's big tonight. 9 o'clock start. 9 o'clock Eastern. Be there. I don't know.
It's in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, it's in Vancouver. Their best player, Besser, is out. Blood clotting issue sounds kind of scary. Demko will not play, who's obviously up for the Vezina. Has been the best goalie all year. He will not play again, which he hasn't played the whole series. I don't know, though, but anything can happen in a Game 7. So who knows? Go Oilers.
How'd you get a C on that jersey? Is that something you paid up for, or what?
This actual jersey is from, it's not that old, but I was always a Messier fan. That's a Moose.
Messier.
Yeah, the Moose.
Okay, one more sports thing. Yes, how about that gray horse? I got some good news and bad news from the Preakness. I'll give you the bad news first.
Bring AB in. Bring AB in.
Bring in AB in, our horse expert.
Yeah, because AB knows horses.
Yep, he knows horses. The bad news is we're not going to have a Triple Crown winner.
The good
news and the more important news is financial news. And that $1 exacta paid $60 with the long shot coming in.
Oh.
And I got my Twin Spires account fat and happy again that I look at 3 times a year during the Travers Stakes. So nice perfecta payout without the favorite coming in second. You always look for I'm learning from you, Dennis. I'm hedging my thoughts. I want to miss the Dan to win, but I knew that if a long shot came in, and the trainer is 88 years old. Wow. 88 years old. And you know how many people own that horse? How many different people own a chunk of Seize the Gray? Take a guess.
20. 1. I don't know.
Dennis, you guess.
How many?
Dennis, guess. He said 20.
22.
2,500.
I beat him.
2,500.
Right. Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
It's a syndication. My Rayhorse group. I got to do some. Todd says 2,550. It's the small guy. It's the old guy, Wayne Lucas, and the small guy. But AB, you had a busy weekend, right? You went out to Vegas.
I did. I was out in Vegas with a couple college buddies, went to a concert Saturday night at the Sphere, ticker SPHR, is a publicly traded company. Saw Dead & Co. there with John Mayer. Incredible show. The place is insane. I mean, it is definitely the coolest place I've ever seen a concert at. I don't know about it as a publicly traded company. So what the Sphere does have going for it is it's got a dual income stream for, they have concerts like Saturday night, absolutely packed. I mean, there were a bunch of people on the plane, you could tell, flying from Detroit to Vegas, that they were going to the Dead show wearing, their tie-dye shirts and whatnot. So during concerts like that, the whole place, 20,000 people packed, buying food, buying merch, buying drinks, buying the tickets for the concert. But then also what the company will do is charge like $500,000 a day to advertise on the outside of the Sphere when there's nothing going on there. So they got the dual income
Smart.
stream. I mean, this was a spinoff of Madison Square Gardens, I believe it was, and that's a publicly traded company as well. So it was a really good time, fun show. I'm not buying the stock today based off of it, but I will go back for a concert there.
Awesome.
All
so
right.
It was a big weekend. And did you bet on the ponies?
I did. I lost. I bet on Imagination to win. I had a couple different exactas going. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of my strategy during the Derby when I won the exacta. Was I picked Sierra Leone, one of the favorites, as the second horse, and then picked a long shot to win. So I was trying to kind of like replicate the magic. Didn't work, but it was a great race. I mean, Seize the Gray won basically wire to wire. Got off to a hot
Yeah,
start.
he did.
Never gave it up. I mean, it looked like some horses were catching him, but at one point, Imagination was in second and like trying to push, but it just Seize the Gray just fended off everyone else.
Okay, this is an all-time sports record. 7 minutes.
Yeah, they're all leaving.
We can spend the rest of the show talking about NVIDIA.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
The whole show. That'll make everybody happy. Sports and NVIDIA.
We do have you mentioned it on the top, Joel, that NVIDIA will report on Wednesday. That's going to be the biggest thing this week that people are looking for. Of course, the bar is high for NVIDIA right here, but you do have some analysts coming in showing some love. So first this morning at around 6 a.m., Baird maintains outperform on NVIDIA, raises price target to 1,200. Stiefel comes in a few minutes later, raises price target to 1,085. Wow. Last Friday, you had Oppenheimer reiterate its outperform on NVIDIA, maintains its $1,100 price target. So as far as analysts are concerned, this thing is going up above $1,000 after the report. Again, the bar is high, so I expect for NVIDIA to trade higher on Wednesday after the report. The company will need to report both an EPS, revenue beat, and raise guidance substantially. So you got to have that trifecta there, not to bring it back to sports, to horse racing.
So again, this is why the strategy of owning headline stocks ahead of reports work, because you have analysts who are scared going to the report. They want to like up their price target. They don't want to look bad. People chasing price, retail talking about, media talking about, social media talking about, everybody talking about NVIDIA, which drives it up, and the stock up 1.4%. So what I've said always is the easier, more predictable trade is to be long ahead of the earnings and then sell it, obviously, or hold it. Now, again, I have my core NVIDIA position, which I intend to hold, but playing it from the long side, from a trading perspective ahead of this is working here as well, and you're getting rewarded with 1.37% here this morning if you just decide to hold it through the weekend.
Just give you the action that we're seeing so far, and you can use that as potential targets on the upside here. Early this morning, it wasn't too early, around 5:45, you hit 939.75, and then you could just look at these tops. I don't know if we'll see these tops before the report or after the report or during the report. 963 and a quarter. What's the all-time high? We've even been higher than that. 974 is the all-time high. All-time closing high comes in below that. What was that? Sometimes that all-time closing high, 950.02. So within $13 of $13 of an all-time closing high in NVIDIA.
And we know what happened last time NVIDIA reported earnings. Not only, this was back in late February, not only did the stock, move higher, but it really brought the whole Qs up like 2.5% that day. So again, there's precedent for, a strong report from NVIDIA lifting up the entire market. Do I think this time around the expectations may be a little bit too high, maybe a little bit more priced in? I think so. So unless, we have a big like sell-off in the overall tech market and semi industry going into Wednesday, I probably won't be playing it on the long side like that. But last time I did, I bought some QQQ calls because they were a little bit cheaper. They had less that implied volatility that NVIDIA's option. So it could be a good way to play the options if you want to play the earnings report without touching NVIDIA specifically. You can play, either the Qs or one of the ETFs that tracks the semi industry. But either way, I mean, that will be the big story of the week when everyone's watching Wednesday's report for NVIDIA.
And obviously, we have a couple days before that. There's some other big reports here this week too. We can go through a few of the charts here. Palo Alto is going to report tonight. A lot of people are going to be watching that. Zoom's going to report. Tuesday, we've got a bunch of retailers: Macy's, Lowe's, Toll Brothers, Home Builders going to report. Urban Outfitters going to report. AutoZone getting the zone. Wednesday, Snowflake, NVIDIA, Elf, Beauty. Do you have the earnings calendar? I'm throwing you under the bus here. Maybe we don't have it handy, but the Benzinga does do a great job with the earnings calendar just as I'm going through these. Pinduoduo, if you want, your Wednesday action there, I believe, reports on Wednesday. Thursday, Cloud Day, Workday, Autodesk, Intuit, bunch of cloud stocks reporting. Deckers, which has been a pretty phenomenal retailer, reporting as well. Dollar Tree, and then Friday we hear from Big Lots, which was getting a little bit of lift from the memesters there last week, but has now given it all back. So you think you're out of earnings season? You're never out of earnings season.
No, as soon as it ends, you've got the next cycle coming in. And of course, NVIDIA usually comes, on the tail end at the end of all the other big tech names that report. Jay's mad because we didn't talk PGA when we did our other sports talk. Xander Schauffele got it done yesterday at the PGA. Good for him. Xander Schauffele's had the reputation for a long time as being one of the best players in the world, but not being able to get it done in majors. Finally did it yesterday. Good for Xander after he, kind of choked the lead away the previous week on Sunday. So there's your PGA talk as well. Sorry, Jay. I did.
We did it all.
Yeah.
Aaron, you're a golfer, right? And Dennis, you're a hacker too. So
hacker.
Yeah, I'm a hacker too. So I watched a little bit of that, and he had like a 1 or 2 stroke lead, par 5. He hits the ball in a sand trap. Okay.
Are you talking about on 18 or?
No.
Okay.
This was earlier. This was like on 9 or 10. Okay. 2-shot lead, hits his drive in the sand trap. What you do is you take out an iron and, you get it 40, 50 yards in front of the green. He takes out a fairway wood in the trap.
Yeah.
And he ended up missing the shot, and he ended up bogeying the hole. It was like a birdie par hole, and I'm like,
pick it clean.
Yeah, you can't do that. I can't hit a sand wedge out of a trap like that. But man, oh man, after that, I was ready to short the guy. But then he birdied the next 2 holes. So, but okay, bring us back in. Jay got us off track. That was Jay's fault, folks.
I know all 3 of us would just talk sports. So,
well,
I wanted to make it a hockey show, but.
Yeah, sometimes it's Monday mornings typically tend to be a little bit slower news wise. I mean,
there's just a lot of sports talk on Monday mornings too. It's hard not to.
Wait,
they want to talk FFIE. They want to go to the memesters. Multiple people in the chat. Faraday, Future, Intelligent. We know on this show we gave you this one when it was
You
6 cents.
You gave it.
The show gave it. We are a team. But anyways, the reason we mentioned this when it was 7 cents was because it was the number 1 short interest stock on that highshortinterest.com list. And obviously the rest is history. They decided to squeeze. This squeeze went insanity on Friday. They squeezed this thing all the way up to $3.90. And then the most epic rug pull of rug pulls all afternoon. It goes from $3.90 down to under $1. Well, it is bouncing here today. They're trying to get it going again. It's up 92% here today. It's already traded 73 million shares. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's traded 73 million shares. It is $1 stock. But wow, huge volume. This thing is trading so rapidly and so quickly, and so much insanity in here now. I do think that was the top. I think it topped out there at 390. I would be a seller of rallies. Today into this strength here. I think this is, the quick double. People think it's going 50, 100, 200, and it's going to be the next GME. I don't think so. I think the rug pull really caught a few people. I actually think when it opens for the regular session that they're going to fade this rally here. So I know it's $2. Could go anywhere. Not saying you go out here short the thing, but I think if you were long it, I'd be ringing the register in today's rally.
Do we know what they do? I mean, Faraday Future
Nope.
Intelligence. I mean,
No
that
idea.
that's
Not
a.
even
I
not
mean,
even a clue what they do.
I mean, that sounds pretty interesting. But let me see here. What is a global shared intelligent mobility ecosystem is poised to break boundaries between the internet, IT, creative, and auto industries with
Oh,
product and service
they're into
offerings.
everything.
Yeah, AI, internet. You know what?
Of course, AI is in there.
I invested in a company like that and went to almost zero, but I got out before it. But you know what? Since we're talking meme stocks,
Sure.
we got to talk GME, and I am officially, like I keep saying that I'm retiring from talking about the technicals in GME. I am officially giving my last technical level after Friday. I said, why the heck go down? Why not fill the gap?
It was a good
Right?
call, Joel.
It went to 1970.
Filled it perfectly.
Yeah. So and then you got a little bit of a bounce. But that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing down.
And it
That's it.
bounced last night, apparently on Robinhood. This was trading up to $25 last night. And then, or even over 25. And then I guess on Robinhood, again, I don't have a Robinhood account, but I guess they limit how high you can pay for it from the close. And it was limit up on Robinhood, up 20% or something. This is what people were saying. I don't have a Robinhood account, so I don't have this verified. But people were saying it's limit up. They're calling Robinhood a scam. They're so angry at Robinhood for not allowing them to pay more than 20% from the close. Well, here we are. It reopens on real trading. Not that that isn't real trading, but it's only one little pocket where you can't short stocks on Robinhood. So obviously, you get a little bit of inflated pricing on there sometimes. And in GME, they get the little story hot on a Sunday night and doesn't take much to really push the price higher. Reopens right back down to $22. I don't know where it was in the pre-market. Maybe it was a little bit higher in the pre-market there, but everybody who bought this last night over 25, instant losers on it. Actually, they should be saying thank you cards, sending thank you cards to Robinhood for not allowing them to pay more than 20% higher from the close. So it's just, you got to be careful when you're trading on these small platforms in the 24-hour markets. They're very illiquid. They thin up, and sometimes you get moves that aren't sustainable. And that's where GME, you're getting the pop up and they're getting it all excited over the weekend. They were going to squeeze Andrew left because he announced he was shorted on Friday. And, all that is just not working out here this morning.
Yeah, this is like, the best thing I did in Vegas is when I went on a run at the blackjack table and went up pretty big. I set aside a stack of chips and said, okay, I'll keep playing with this, but I'm not going to touch this stack. And I walked away while I was up, which is hard to do, but you need to do it whether you're in Vegas or whether you're in the markets. And if you're up on one of these stocks, whether it be Faraday, whether it be GameStop, whether it be
Take the money and
AMC,
run.
you got to take the money and run, because the longer you stay in, like the longer you sit at a blackjack table and play hands, the more likely you are to go back to even or lose. And same thing here. If you keep trading the stocks, the more likely you are to end up giving that money back, especially on these like volatile, meme stock movers. So it's easier said than done. But again, like anyone out there who did make money on this recent rally should take that money and run and then look for the next opportunity, because you got the opportunity here. You had the Roaring Kitty stuff last Sunday, brought us higher. It was moving before that. And now, the story's probably, we might still have some rallies throughout the week, some increased volume, but as far as the whole, like, oh my God, short squeeze this to the moon thing is probably not going to work out this week.
I think Heisenberg, if you want to go to my Twitter feed, AB in the background, but I reposted Heisenberg. He's at Mr. Derivatives. He posts some funny things if you want to give him a follow. GME, I think he sums it up pretty well. He says, GME, it's over. We all got duped again. Congrats to the thousands who got out as millionaires. Rip to the millions left holding the bag. Is that not the truth? Because you're only going to hear on social media all the people who made money. There's a lot of people who just bought at 40, 50, 60 and are instantaneously, going to be down and maybe down forever. So I think, could there be a rally to 30 again? Could there be some little rallies? Yeah, but it's not good news when you see it on Robinhood last night, trading up $4 and it can't even get a sniff in the pre-market. So just keep that in mind. Buy good companies at reasonable valuations. I'm not saying GME is not a good company, but I'm saying it's not a reasonable valuation. So you've got to have reasonable valuations, especially if you're an investor. So many people think they're going to hand it. We're going to, stick it to the man here. We're going to stick it to the hedge funds. You want to know who made the money on this? Probably the hedge funds. So again, those thousands who got out as millionaires, there may not even be thousands. It's probably a bunch of hedge funds that made a lot of money on this run up. And then all these, retail traders who bought up here left holding the bag. Nice summary by Heisenberg.
AB, another trick my dad taught me when going to the tables at the Vegas, especially the craps table, is you take that original investment, and then once you get that original investment back, not only I don't even leave the chips on the table, I put them in my back pocket. Okay. And I don't go back into that pocket. And then incrementally, if I double what I have in my back pocket, I take that off the table. I put it in my back because it's so, I mean, especially in Vegas. I mean, you could be on a run thinking you're the world's, greatest. And then the sheriff comes and locks up all the chips. So good point there. I'm glad you're using good risk reward.
I used to do the same thing when I was back in university. I'd always go to Casino Windsor and I'd play at the blackjack tables. And the same thing, if I was going on a run, I'd take some chips, I'd put them in my pocket. And if it's getting up, I'd put some more in my pocket. And then my pocket, I would just be gambling, playing with the house's money. Then I've got my money back in my pocket. Then I got a little extra of the house's money in my pocket. And if I was on a run, and then sometimes you'd get on a really good run and that pocket would be bulging. But, you keep going until your run's over. So you want to, keep going with it. But, taking chips off the table is always a good idea. And this totally applies to something like GME. If you bought this thing at $15, $18, $20, and it's going to 30, take a little bit off. They're going to 40, take a little bit more off. Going to 50, take a little bit more off. Coming and chasing, though, and putting your good chips back out there, or taking them out of your pocket and coming back in, that's how you get nailed. And, not all stock investing is like this, but when you're playing these meme stocks here, this is gambling. When you're playing these meme stocks here, this isn't investing. These aren't investable companies here. You don't pay bazillion times earnings for these companies or a bazillion times revenue. So you just got to keep that in mind. Sticking it to the man usually sticks it to you.
You know what? There's one final point we can move on from this. Like the biggest difference is like, even if you're like when you're gambling in Vegas, whatever, you're on the craps table and you got a lot, you're up a lot of money. You got a lot of money on the table. You don't book it. And then the sheriff comes, right? Someone throws the sheriff, lock up all the chips. The biggest difference is when you're trading these stocks and they get halted 15, 16 times a day, you don't have an out. I mean, you're stuck.
Sometimes.
And usually it goes up, 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 halt, up, 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 halt, up, 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 halt, down, 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 halt, down, 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 halt, down, 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 halt. That's what it does. So
and they need to fix that. Go ahead, finish your point, and I'm going to go on a rant.
That's it. Go ahead on a tangent. No, I'm done.
They need to fix this. And regulators, I know some regulators sometimes listen to the show. Market structure guys, you've got to fix this, because what we have is they put in place after the financial crisis. They put the limit up, limit down system, and this was after the flash crash and all that stuff there too. So limit up, limit down says stock can only go up so much in a specific period of time. It's different for different stocks. Some stocks it's 10% in a 5-minute period, which I believe is the GameStop here. So if it moves, 10%, then the ban comes in and they put in the halt. It goes up another 10%. What they need to do, and there's been some suggestions from some great followers on Twitter, is they need to expand the bans after the first halt. So if it halts once, then the bans double. Halts again, bans double again. They keep doubling, because when you have these small companies that don't have, obviously, don't have liquidity to keep it in check, and or if there's news and there's just so much, algorithmic volume coming in here, you have, these 10% halts getting hit 3, 4, 10 times a day. So it's just ridiculous. These things trade actually very smoothly in the pre-market, where there's no limit up, limit down, and then they trade nuts in the regular session. I would argue if it halts once, halts twice, then just get rid of the bans after that. It's not like, again, they don't want a stock going from 22 to 0. That was the whole point. But they're so smoothly traded in the pre-market. I don't know why they need to, even apply to some of these smaller companies. So what I would say is, if you want to leave a limit up, limit down bans, then fine. But they've got to at least, expand after the first halt. Don't keep them the same. So I would say if they halt once, then double the bans, halt again, double the bans again, go like that. Or, or get rid of them altogether after the third halt, because the things are trading smoothly in the pre-market, And we saw this during the COVID bubble. We'd have smooth trading during the pre-market and after hours. And then the regular session was a mess because everything was getting halted. And they had the 5% bands and the 7% bands and the 10% bands, and it was just an absolute mess. So my argument would be the bans really aren't even necessary. Flash crashes aren't as, regular as they used to be, although, maybe they're necessary in extreme cases, so you could keep them in there. But the bans, for one, are way too tight when you have market moving news or you have these meme stocks still going nuts. So you need to expand the bans after the first halt.
All right, well, let's keep it ticking. Some other news in the market this morning. You did have Apple announcing that it's going to lower the price of its iPhones. This is based on some increased competition in China. And I mean, so China, like we've talked about how China is a big market for both Apple, Tesla, some other big American tech companies. But right now you have some increased competition. I believe it's Huawei. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but right now Huawei overtook Apple as like the biggest smartphone market share in China. So Apple's trying to combat that by lowering some iPhone prices there. Not great news. I mean, anytime you're lowering the prices to try to boost up demand, I mean, we've seen this with Tesla a bunch this year. Not great. Apple trading down slightly on this news, but still, I mean, has been an incredible run for Apple the past few weeks since hitting that bottom in late April.
It's been a good run. Lots of questions here. Ken, now you're starting to get back up to near all-time highs. Does it have the oomph to, take us out and make new highs here? Valuation has never, been that cheap here, but it's not unreasonable either at 26, 27 times earnings. What we've been saying is they need to show us something, AI. They're starting to talk about chips. They're starting to talk about other things. They're moving and starting to focus that way. And that's why the stock is starting to get some love. They don't want to see it as just an iPhone company. So I think, dips, and I've said this, the last couple days, I think dips are probably going to get bought here on Apple. It's weak here this morning on the iPhone, but there's underneath demand here now. People think this is going back to all-time highs. I think it gets back to 185, 186. Probably find buyers. People also asking in the chat, is the NVIDIA Apple negative correlation still there? Not as much. It was very apparent a few weeks ago, not as much now. Like, do I think if NVIDIA rips, Apple's going to tank? Maybe on the earnings it'll apply to a certain extent, but overall these stocks, it's kind of Apple's getting grouped back into AI to a certain extent the last week, and that's why it's not completely competing with NVIDIA now.
Boy, oh boy, I got a multi-star level here for you guys, and it's going all the way back to February. February, you had a high to 191 area, and then you had three highs at the end of last week, the highest one being 190, 110. So there you go. I mean, that if you're playing it this week, you just got to respect that level, use it as resistance. I don't really care about any other highs after that up to 195, but man, you hit that three times in 1 week, 3 days in a row. Was also the highest level you've been at since February. Got to respect that level. Harder to find support in Apple here. But if you're just raw bullish Apple, you want to buy it at yesterday's low compared to where the S&P is trading. Well, you can. The only problem after that is your next daily low is not down till 187.37. But nice resistance here. And Dennis, what about our 180 bet? I mean, holy mackerel, we got to.
You're looking better now all of a sudden.
I know.
So history, it was like 6 months ago, and the stock was trading at 180. Joel took 200. I took 160. The stock went down to like 162 or something, or 161. Then it ran up to 199. Joel almost won the bet. Then it came back down
46.
It came within, yeah, and then it came all the way back down like 165, and then it's all the way back up there again. I mean, now it's coming back. I got back to 195, then back down to 165. I mean, we channeled this thing perfectly. My 160 against your 200 is just channeled perfectly there. If you're playing the Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick channel there, you're making a lot of money. Selling when it gets near Joel's 200, buying when it gets near Dennis's 160. Maybe that works until it doesn't.
Maybe we'll get CC on and have him, like when we do these kind of things, have him create a option strategy so we can just pay everyone else to be wrong, right? And just like bring in
That's
the
what options
premium.
really are when you're selling options. You're paying everyone else to be wrong. You're paying yourself, hoping everyone else is wrong. It's not a bad strategy.
All right.
4 minutes.
Yeah, we've got 4 minutes till Angie comes on. Other big headlines. I mean, Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy. We can pull up.
Did it?
Yeah, we can.
Oh my gosh! Like, I haven't used the gift card yet.
Come on, Dennis. Maybe this.
And the writing was on the wall 3 weeks ago. I hope
know.
they keep the stores open here. I actually call. I had my friend actually called to the Berry store, which is like a half hour from me, and asked, "Are you guys open?" It's like, "Oh yeah, we're open." And then they're like, "Well, we heard you guys are going bankrupt." Oh no, that's all just rumors. We're open. Come on in. So I'm like, oh, so I felt comfortable. It's still open there, and I haven't used it yet. Now it's official. They have filed for bankruptcy.
Yes, I don't know if that means. I don't know if that means that the stores are like officially
Hopefully they're
closed.
still open.
They might have like one more week left. I don't know. But, Red Lobster not publicly.
I'm going
traded.
there this afternoon, celebrating, or actually I should go there tomorrow and celebrate an Oilers victory. But I gotta go. That's $100, I think, too. 100 Canadian dollars, which is like 20
so that's
bucks,
like 70,
20
right?
bucks. No, just kidding.
Used to
Wait,
be
who spun them off?
Darden. It used to be under Darden, DRI, which of course owns like Olive Garden and Outback or Longhorn Steakhouse, one of the two.
Good sale.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I think it's worth bringing up is because you still have some companies, some public companies that I think are similar to Red Lobster's, like price point, type of dine-in. So probably not great news for Darden that Red Lobster was struggling so much, just because, again, like Olive Garden and pretty similar Olive Garden and Red Lobster. You think about, again, the price point, people. I mean, Olive Garden also used to offer, I don't know if they still do, like endless bowls of pasta and stuff like that. So I don't know, but to me, here's the problem is that you have these restaurants that end up being pretty dang expensive. If you go there for like if you go to Olive Garden right now and you get a full meal, say you get like a beer, a glass of wine with it, like you end up paying like $30-$40 for the meal. And at that point, I'm like, why don't you just go to like a nicer like local spot and you can spend that same amount of money? Because I don't think the food's ever that great to justify spending that much. And now you do have the flip side effect of that is that as fast food gets more expensive, some people are like, well, if I'm going to be spending $20 at McDonald's anyway, might as well go to Olive Garden or one of these other ones. So I it's kind of hard to decipher right now exactly what this means. But again, I'd probably be more willing to short Darden on this news rather than go long it, just because I think, again, these kind of sit down casual-ish restaurants that are still pretty expensive, just not the right environment for them right now.
I never ate at a Red Lobster. I've never eaten at a Red Lobster.
Come on.
I know, I never have.
Girl's too classy for Red Lobster.
But
Red Lobster's awesome.
You know what the problem is that people go in there and they sit there all day. They go in there and they eat all day, and they go to I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Costco lobster. I mean, that's I think that's a pretty good bargain here. But are we going
to work at a Red Lobster in college?
Really?
Yeah, for like 6 months or so.
Well, I'd always go to Red Lobster in university too. University back in the day is like you're in there $20 and you're like eating.
No,
awesome.
I used to work at one.
Oh, you used to work at one too.
Yeah. I used to
let me guess.
That would have been a good connection. He'd give me a discount.
Let me guess. You got fired for not showing up on a Friday.
Don't tease him anymore with the Apple alarm clock. He's never going to live this down. I'm with you, AB. I'm defending you all the way. I'm now on AB's side because it did it to me too. It's the iPhone's fault. I'm with you, AB, all the way.
No, that's a good bet, Joel. I think it was something along those lines. But it was actually pretty good money waiting tables there. And my trick, I had a couple different tricks while I was working there, but one of the things that I did was when we had the endless shrimp deal going on, so someone would pay $20 for the endless shrimp, and every time they wanted more, you would just ring in the computer, okay, they want another order of fried shrimp or another order of, pop, they have like 6 different types of shrimp. But once one of my tables had it, I would use theirs and start ordering shrimp for myself. I'd be like, oh, an order of the fried shrimp. And then I would go take it from the kitchen and like put it in a to-go box. And then so by the end of my shift, I had like a whole box of fried shrimp ready for bankrupt. Yeah, I'm sure.
Why we hired this guy? You're never getting fired now.
It's AB's fault that Red Lobster's going bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like it actually might be.
I figured, it was like too big to fail. Clearly, I was wrong. It was not too big to fail.
This won't make any difference at all. Meanwhile,
No.
they're bankrupt now. Thanks, AB.
If I put him over the edge, that was back. I mean, that was back in the day. That was back in like 2019 probably. And then also the other thing, this is the last thing, we got our guests hanging out backstage. COVID hit like right after I was like stopped working there, but I was still in the Facebook group. And in like February, before the world shut down, people in the Facebook group were talking, like the other waiters were like, no one's coming in right now. It's completely dead. They need to like cut the, they need to like say we don't need to come in because we have 6 waiters in today and there's 2 tables. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should start shorting the market because people are taking this pretty seriously. So I got like inside intel from the Facebook group of Red Lobster after I started working there and made some money on it. I bought puts on Darden. You can see right there where it crashed, that big red bar. So I actually made a lot more money by stopping working at Red Lobster than I did by working there.
Not only was he stealing the shrimps, but he's shorting the stocks. Double dipping them.
Oh my gosh!
I'm going to put him out of business. I might as well make it on both sides.
Not only
and I'm shorting the stock.
Not only you're not getting fired ever, I am calling Jason, and you are getting a raise today.
I need it because now my cash cow Red Lobster is out of business. I don't know what I'm going to do. That was one thing. All right. 8:37. We do have our guests hanging out backstage. Without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Angie Setzer on the show. Give her our special pre-market prep welcome.
All right, Angie Setzer. I'm laughing so hard. Consulting LLC. I'm sorry, Angie.
No, you're fine. I am. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the term for what Aaron did. Like, it's not a Texas edge. Like, it's the opposite. Like, but Angie,
do you eat at Red Lobster?
I've had Red Lobster. So, like, those questions where it's like, when you were a kid, what was it, the stuff that you thought rich people did? Like, eating at Red Lobster was the rich person experience for me. Like, we did it once.
Yeah.
Like, we had a gift card, I think. Like, we were Ponderosa people. Like, we probably look like Ponderosa people. We're Center Michigan Ponderosa people. But, like, Red Lobster was a whole other experience.
My older brother, like, for whatever reason, when he was a kid, actually really liked, like, eating crab legs and stuff, like, loved seafood. So we would do his birthday at Red Lobster every year. And, like, it's same thing. As a kid, I thought, like, oh, special occasion, we get to go to Red Lobster. And looking back on it, I was like, wait, were we the trashy ones doing, like, doing birthday dinners at Red Lobster and stuff? And then
we were the Ponderosa people rolling into Red Lobster. That was us. So,
all right, Andy, we focus. We go on tangents here on the show, as you well know. But let's talk about the commodities markets. And I know your particular focus is in the grain markets here. And inflation, no inflation, looking at some of the, looking at wheat. I mean, we had the, the COVID run, but wheat doesn't look like it's going anywhere to me. Corn corn pulled off its high. Just give us just an overall take on the grain markets here. Ooh, I love that. Oh, did you see that soybeans here? They're supported 11.50. But talk to us about the grain markets.
Yeah, so welcome to the end of May, the beginning of June. For us in the grain markets, the commodity markets, like the next 3 months is big for us. Like, it is the most exciting time of the year. As sad as it is to say that, I'm just going to relent and say, now that I'm 20 years deep, like, the next 3 months are going to be a trip, and I'm going to enjoy it. The biggest thing that we have right now in grains is that high prices have cured high prices, right? We had a real significant run up to near record highs across the board. As we worked through COVID and as we worked beyond, COVID, we went from sort of this just in time sort of approach to the market to just in case, where a lot of our world end users went from having just enough on hand to get by, knowing that they could go ahead and tap into a supply, to all of a sudden being like, oh my gosh, we can't access it when we need it. And so we saw prices surge. We saw the inflation trade happen. and suddenly that kind of started to go away. Production, we were able to stabilize production. We saw some big production growth out of South America. Russia's had several wheat crops, 2 wheat crops in a row that have been record large, that have allowed them to basically just dominate the world export market. And, it's put the market structure under pressure and sent us back, in wheat, we went back to pre-COVID levels, and corn, we went back to not quite, but we saw some really solid support come into play. I think front month traded down to 390 or so. And now we're entering back into the growing season. A lot of things have happened globally that if you haven't necessarily been paying attention, like if you clocked out of the grain markets the end of January and come in today, you'd probably be a little bit surprised by a few different things. Production loss in Argentina, China not coming in and buying as aggressively as what they had. We've got some production issues in Russia. The Ukraine-Russia situation is starting to escalate. There are a few things, in my opinion, that'll be bullish catalysts potentially as we go forward, but we really have to try to work our way through some of this tightness or some of this resistance that we're seeing on the charts that you're talking about.
One other factor I got to ask you about this. So we're leaking here in the S&Ps a little bit, folks. So watch your bids on the downside here. Is the weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to worry about the weather. And we had this, what do they call it? That big solar event? What was that?
The geo whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that smoked a bunch of crops or anything, but I mean, really, isn't that what you need? Like, really, for these commodities, it's like a drought or some catastrophic event to really cut down on the growing. So, just talk about that event. I believe it was from last week.
Yep.
How it impacted the markets, and are people just making a big deal out of nothing?
Yeah, and that event, nothing significant happened. We had a few farmers that would report their GPS systems were down. They were able, they had a great opportunity, a planting window that was open, and suddenly they couldn't do a whole lot, like auto steer. A lot of times it's geo-mapped. It's GPS anymore for farmers. We're able to do variable rate, technology and different things like that. And so that was kind of the disruption. It didn't do anything to the crops at all. But when you start to talk about, drought or the need of a drought or the need of a problem somewhere, it really reminds me of when I first started in the career, one of my growers said to me, it really stinks that in this job, I feel like I'm always rooting for my neighbor to have some sort of problem. And that's what we're up against. Really, when it comes down to it, we're looking to see if we have any sort of production issues that are arising. To me right now, I feel like we're going to start to discuss the too wet weather that we're experiencing now across a lot of the Corn Belt. Folks like to say rain makes grain, and that's very true. Once the crop is established and things like that. Like right now, what we're looking at is the potential for really, really heavy rainfall across a lot of really young crops. And so that would be an instance where you would have some drownouts, you would have some problems with production. In addition, we're starting to really lag the average pace or the pace you would like to see from a planting standpoint to optimize yield. And so basically looking at the last several years of crop loss that we've seen or slow planting pace, to get started, we typically see a bit of a reduction in crop, which would equate to around 4 bushel the acre this year if we weren't to run into any other issues on corn. And so there are some ideas that we could see some continuation of production losses. Argentina has seen significant losses due to drought due to disease. Last year, they'd experienced some drought, and we thought they would be able to pretty much double their crop. Their corn crop's not going to be that way. We're talking it being off a 500 million plus of what we thought. We don't know what Brazil's crop looks like. I mean, there are a lot of things happening in the world today that could make grains exceptionally interesting as we work our way into the month of June.
Okay, Angie, I got another question for you.
Yeah.
All right. This is a tough one.
Okay.
How many phone calls have you fielded over the last couple months talking about AI in farming?
Not a lot, honestly. I mean, it's not something that's new for us to be discussing. I mean, we've been kind of exploring what automation can do in agriculture for years now. I mean, it's really one of those things that we had a robot at my former company that helped lift bags of soybeans and put them on pallets so we could load them into a truck, and maybe that's not to the extent of what folks are talking about in AI, but I think when it comes in agriculture, especially because we have always been an industry that's lacking manpower, anything that we can do to help automate or improve, remove the human element if we can, will be great. But when it comes to certain things like automated, trading recommendations or some of these other things, the human touch is always going to win in ag, but it's definitely going to be fun to watch over the next few years to see how much better we can do what we're already doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the one thing that you have is like it's probably easier to get a self-driving John Deere tractor going on a farm where there's not other cars and stuff it can run into, rather than on a road where you have all these liabilities and cars and people it can hit. John Deere did report earnings last week, and it was a little bit lighter than expected. I don't know if you watched that, Angie. Do you
Yes.
see a correlation there that ever like, okay, we're producing more crops right now, John Deere stock is going to do well, versus we're producing less crops right now, John Deere stock might suffer a little bit?
I would say I would look more at farmer sentiment than anything when it comes
Okay.
to what to look at from the John Deere standpoint. But you are correct. I mean, when it comes down to it, high prices and better margins will encourage, on-farm purchases. I would say this year is probably, and like I said, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. This is my 20th growing season, and this is probably the worst year that I've come into when it comes to farmer attitude and farmer outlook. I have a lot of growers that are looking to cut back on what they feel
Why
like
is
is too
that?
much. The drop in price. So basically
Okay.
last year, you're looking at a $5 per bushel type break even. And so if you look, you had that opportunity throughout much of the year, but there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of farmers were super optimistic. We then saw one of the largest drops on record in corn prices from the end of October into basically the start of February, which is totally against what you would typically see. So a lot of growers hadn't had the opportunity to market their crop above break even. And so right now they're making a decision between, generating cash by locking in a loss or looking at trying to roll the dice forward as they work into the growing season. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fear and a lot of increased costs, and, borrowing costs are up exceptionally. Like folks are really kind of wanting to hold on to cash because they're value. Like entire outlook at agriculture in a lot of ways over the last couple of years.
Good question coming out of the chat here. Do you think farmers are getting the blame for the high grocery prices?
They always do. I mean, the cost of the high food costs always go back to the farm gate automatically without folks really recognizing the fact that, we produce a wholesale product that has to be processed, turned into something. So it has to be transported a couple different times. It has to be handled more than once. It has to be packaged. It has to be all of these things, and then it has to be shipped into the grocery store. And so from a farmer standpoint, I mean, I feel like it's been discussed ad nauseum a lot of the times, but the farmer is not really the one that gets the majority of the money that you're paying at the grocery store when it comes down to it. And so they get the blame. I think, biofuels and things like that also get a pretty significant amount of blame for higher prices at the grocery store, when in reality, it's a whole slew of other things causing it beyond the wholesale prices that folks are paying for ingredients.
I was talking to my friend who's a chicken farmer, and I'm probably getting the numbers wrong, but like it was like pre-COVID, he was selling these chickens for like $1.10 or something.
Yeah.
And now he's like, it's up until like $1.70 I'm selling them for. But we've seen the chicken prices go from like $6 in Canada to like $12, and they're like, oh well, you can't do the farmers, and they blame them all there. But you talk to the guy, and he's like, no, he's like, I'm making less now because my input costs are so more. So I'm actually
my
making
margins are
less money.
squeezed. Yeah, it costs me more to hold them. It costs me more to find it, get the money to produce. It costs all of these additional things. And so, yeah, your gross revenue may start to increase, but your net's significantly lower. And that's the other thing that we're seeing in ag right now, is that a lot of folks that have decent equity on paper are really finding themselves in a bit of a cash pinch too. And so you're not going to go to the dealership and trade yourself, trade into a new piece of equipment or something like that when you're a little tight.
Angie, so when we think about farming in the U.S., I think a lot of people think about Iowa and certain states. What are there any states that are kind of like sneaky, very important to the U.S. agriculture that people maybe don't think about when they're thinking about farming in the U.S.?
I truly believe every state is across the Corn Belt is valuable. Yes, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, they're going to be your leaders right in the center of the country. I'm in Michigan, so I'm partial. Like I feel like our agriculture is obviously super important, and we are. And I mean that's the thing that if you look over, any one state, if you were to remove their production or see a significant production issue, it's like dominoes. I mean, that's what is the most fun part of cash grain, is that I'm not just kind of hypothesizing on where value should be based on a set of fundamentals. I get to see what the true value being paid by a group of end users really is. And so that will be interesting to see. I mean, for me right now, I'm watching, there's an area of great concern across central Indiana and up stretching into like northern Ohio. I'm in Michigan here, south of 94 in Michigan. We have some issues with planting as well, but I'm watching that area not getting the crop in with another wet forecast, thinking it's probably going to spill over into our market structure. So even if, Michigan's able to produce, if Indiana has a hiccup, we're going to notice it. And so
Right.
I don't want to come off like cheesy and saying we're all important, but honestly, they all rely upon each other to produce what's expected each year.
All right, I got one more for it, maybe a couple more. How many farmers have called you up and said, this soybean market, corn market, wheat, so competitive. I got all this land. Maybe I should just grow wheat.
Wheat is a pain in the neck. For one, wheat too, like if you're talking about right now, across the majority of the country, wheat is only a fall crop. And so you're going to put wheat in across the hard red wheat belt, the southern plains, and across the soft red wheat belt in the eastern corn belt. So east of the Mississippi is a soft red wheat belt area that gets planted in the fall. You want your wheat in pretty much before Halloween for the best yield opportunities. I'm not an agronomist. It still trips me out that wheat goes to sleep, wakes up, and yields better. But I do have some folks that are looking at producing
Angie, I said weed.
Weed. Oh, I thought you said wheat. Yeah, I'm down with the weed. Let's all just produce it. But honestly, like in Michigan, in Michigan here, I have had some growers transition over into, and it's a very, very tiny amount, but some outdoor grow. We've had some outdoor grow centers and things like that, some off land, but honestly, most of them aren't really switching over into cannabis.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I would love to be the goddess of grass.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Just one last thing for people that are new to the show or haven't listened before. The King of Corn, the King of Corn, and the Goddess of Grain were introduced on Benzinga's pre-market prep show. How's the King of Corn doing?
He's doing great. He took the offspring of grain, I don't know what we'll call him, to school this morning. And so we work together now as business partners. So we work together to put out commentary throughout the day and work with my growers. Both of us, kind of have a similar background. It's a bit of a trip to work with your husband every day. But yeah, our anniversary is coming up. We'll be married 9 years here in another 3 weeks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Still waiting on my watch.
I have to.
But anyways, the great follow on Twitter, the Goddess of Grain. She's Angie Setzer, joining us from south of 94, right here in the great state of Michigan. Thanks, Angie. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that was Angie Setzer again. Always great to catch up on the commodity trade, see what's going on some of this agriculture stuff here in the U.S. Really the backbone of the country that we probably overlook a little bit too much, and what's going on with the state of farming here. Chatty's asking me how the Sphere. Chatty, it was awesome. I mean, the Sphere, like, coolest place to see a concert I've been to. That was probably my 5th Dead & Co show, probably the top one I've been to. Great set list from Saturday night. Got some of my favorite songs. So I would highly recommend going if you are.
Who did you see again? I forget who you were seeing.
Dead & Co. It's like it's Grateful Dead, basically. They're like
what's left. Yeah.
What's left? Yep. Bob Weir and John Mayer on the guitar.
You ever been to a Dead concert, Dennis?
Nope. Oh, it'll be good to laugh.
No, I never been to a Dead. I had a lot of friends that were Deadheads, and they would travel around and stuff. And nope, 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 nope. All right, Dennis, we're leaking a little bit here. You think that's just
Yeah.
some selling? Any?
Yeah, they're selling balances. And again, when you look at them on a Friday, sometimes they don't mean as much on the third Friday because they're going to be wild with options expiration. But a lot of times on a normal day, when you're seeing more selling balances than buying balances, it does eventually equal a leak. Ones that stand out, Walmart standing out, 76,000 to sell here. Walmart Target does report on Wednesday. Sometimes it can move, but I believe we already had the Walmart report, so it's probably not going to move as much. But 75,000 to sell is significant for that at this time of day. They're just big enough to be annoying, I think, to the market here. And again, it's just just cherry picking a few, like ExxonMobil 32,000 to sell. Merck's got 33,000 to sell. It's kind of across the board. Bank of America 82,000 to sell. Wells Fargo 35,000 to sell. It's just enough to annoy the market that there's some sellers here Monday morning. And then also you got the TLT leaking a little bit. Thanks to our chat for letting us know that here. I did sell a little bit of my TLT into the rally here in my long-term account. I was like, I'm again, how do you know you're wrong? You start losing money. I bought some in the low, mid 80s, and then I bought some more like 95, which was a mistake. So I resold the extra that I had bought up at 95, and that was up at 92 last week. Again, just looking, 50% retracement of the recent move. Pure technicals, 96 down to 87, pop up to 92, place where we broke down from before. I was like, it's a natural spot where maybe we pause. I don't think inflation is gone here yet. So, earlier in the year, I was thinking, we're going to get some cuts. Now I'm not even sure about that. So the TLT is a play, obviously, on interest rate cuts. And if they're not coming anytime soon, maybe not a bad idea to book the profits on the recent rally.
Okay, someone wanted to bring up a big reversal here in the gold and silver. Gold makes that new all-time high and then falls out of bed. The more pronounced move is silver, getting to 32.75, jamming all the stops, and now back down at 31.39. Man, these red candle kind of days, man, are sometimes a shot across the bow. So I'd be careful with these today. You created some overhead supply. People think 32, 33, 34, 35. So, man, I just don't like this candle here. So if you were able to catch it and you're worried about giving back some of these profits from last week, there's a lot of air underneath. I would just say if it keeps making new lows on the day, I look out here. The current low right now is near that closing price, the high mark of the move. So silver, big reversal in silver.
All right, 3 minutes left. What do you guys want to do? Some ticker time potentially?
Yeah, throw out some tickers here. Sure. Throw out some
Did we
tickers.
do Johnson Controls? Did we do that?
No, we should do Johnson Controls, but then throw out some tickers here too, just for the last minute. We'll do a couple tickers as well. JCI is trading up. We got Elliott. We know Elliott, when they take an activist position, the market listens to it. Obviously, Pinterest has held up a long time with Elliott there. They make really good calls, Elliott, and they have now taken a activist position in JCI. That's, maybe you see in the recent rally here, could be a little bit of Elliott pushing. And now, you get the news. Elliott's taking an activist position, stocks trading up 4%.
Well, I was going to give the news, but Dennis, you did a good
I just
job
stole
there.
your job.
Hey, you're good. You're good. That was great. Made my job easier. So now, now Joel will give us the technicals, and I'll continue sitting back here and just trying to, do my part.
Get those greasy shrimp out of your pocket. 73.80 is your pre-market high, so you're $1.80 off that. So you got some heavy lifting to do to get back up to that level. So now, if you're buying this off the hop at 72 and saying Elliott, knows everything, you want immediate follow through. More typically, you see these things kind of leak, and if you're looking to buy or cover short, top of yesterday's range comes in at 69.22.
All right. Well, that list still leaves us a couple minutes for ticker time. So if you guys have anything you want to check out in the chat, we did get some tickers already.
Sure.
Someone wants to look at, let's see. Jesse wants to look at Fortinet, ticker FTNT. Fortinet will probably be moving tonight with Palo Alto Networks report. So PANW reports tonight. So watch out for Fortinet and other stocks in the cybersecurity space.
It's hard. I mean, I think if you're trading, you want to always go best of breed. The Palo Alto report's going to be very interesting here. tonight. A lot of people are going to be watching. I was long it over the weekend. I've already actually sold, and I'll probably get back long, or maybe I'll be trading a little bit in the day. But again, through the report, it's always, a wild card. I don't usually hold these through the report. Just looking recently, if you bought it 3 or 4 days ago, doing the same boring strategy, owning stocks ahead of reports, you're up about 17 points in 4 days. So that strategy works here once again. It got hammered on the last report, so expectations are a bit lower coming into this report, which is good news for the bulls. Can it gap up into the gap? That's always a possibility. So if you see it go up, it has a good report, I would think about filling the gap logically up to 360. If it disappoints, then you start thinking about the low of the move down at 260. So that would be my range for PANW. I don't know if we were supposed to be Fortinet, so go back to Fortinet.
I got you.
I took it away because I do best to breed.
I'll just stick with this. The big boys have been stepping up at $58. It's pretty much near the low of the year. So on a decline, see if that holds. On a rip here, if you start to get over 60, not very limited resistance. So better to identify support here at 58 than trying to pick a top on the upside. But I will, because that's what I do. There's a triple top. There's a triple top at 64.5. It just popped out to me, and that's probably within the expected move.
One more.
One more. All right, it's 9 a.m. We got one
overtime.
What about PayPal? I don't even know the last time we talked PayPal.
Oh gosh,
on this.
Worst of breed between PayPal and Square. It's a stock that just cannot get out of its own way. Competition coming for them all over the place. I haven't liked the stock in a very long time, although the valuation at 14 or 15 times earnings is attractive if you think they can figure it out. But too much competition in the online payment space here, and I just don't see that competition going away, and I don't think the market does either, which is why every time the stock rallies, it's just another selling opportunity.
Wow. I mean, I'm trying to find some daily levels together. I don't really find any. I'm trying to find some monthly levels together. I'm really not finding anything here. I guess right now, if you're trading it short term, you're going to look at like the $63 level, pair of lows there. That's a must hold for it. Coming back on the upside. I mean, it doesn't even like to make two highs in this same area. So for the short term, you keep a track for the week. Last week's high, 65.53.
All right, guys. Well, that'll be a wrap on today's show, 9:01 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, a T3 Tuesday. Make sure to come in and join us at 8 a.m. Eastern. Again, we'll probably be talking again some NVIDIA as we head into Wednesday's report, some other top headlines as well. So make sure you hang out with us tomorrow, 8 a.m. Please smash the like if you haven't already, and live trading will start right now.